Hey everyone, welcome to the Permission Portal with Paul Mark and Laz. I'm Paul Mark.
And I'm Laz. Let's open the portal.
So recently, I've been having some flashbacks, memories of who I used to be and some people from my past who've come back. It made me think about some full circle moments and some tendencies to try and hold on to sentimental objects or ideas. Today, we are offering permission to visit the past without staying there.
Of course, I get sentimental a lot more now than I used to. I mean, I've always
Mhm.
been a sentimental person, but I find myself experiencing that on more of a daily basis. Like yesterday, just sitting at Red Lobster with my son, watching him tear up that plate the way he loves seafood. Even right now, it feels nostalgic just thinking about it.
I remember watching the first Inside Out, and you have kids, so I know you've seen it. The one where all the emotions are characters. So, in the first one, where the core memories are all one emotion or another emotion, and then as she matures, they get colored, and there's a little bit of every emotion in it. And so, in the second one, nostalgia as a character shows up.
Oh,
And it's this little old woman who's just like, I remember back when. And the character, she's going through puberty right now. So all the things are coming up, and anxiety comes online, and nostalgia comes in, and it's like, remember when?
you know why? That's so funny. My wife makes fun of me, and my kids are in on it now because I went to 12 different schools from first to 12th grade. I moved around a lot. I
Mhm.
think that this was a response to that,
Yeah.
but I will see a movie or hear a song or something, a toy, a
Mhm.
commercial, something old from back in the
Yeah.
day. And I'll say, oh, that movie came out in 1992. I can remember based on where I was living, what house I was
Mhm.
living in. So I
Okay.
can pinpoint something, and not everybody's able to do this like I can.
It's funny because that is also kind of a Golden Girls thing, when Sophia would say, picture it, Sicily or New York, 1940 something. I do have some of those moments, except I never put an actual year date on it because until recently, I didn't claim an age, and I still haven't claimed my actual age. And the reason is I remember watching Oprah. Certain moments stick with me. In any time I have a memory, I actually get a visual of being in that moment. I know where I was sitting when I saw Oprah on her 50th birthday episode. She was talking about the color purple and how Sophia was 50 and Oprah turning 50 didn't look like how they aged her to play Sophia at 50. And she was like, nope, I'm not going to look like that at 50 because black don't crack. And so it was kind of one of those things where it's like, you guys age and we don't. I realized then, I was like, age is a construct. For some people who are able to stay timeless, it's also like when we think about Cher, Madonna, people who are constantly reinventing themselves. It's because they haven't decided, okay, I'm this age.
Say about that. The mind body code talks about that. Not saying your age. It goes further into things like senior citizen discounts and not buying into that idea. Like right now, somebody would say, I'm a middle aged person. If I'm a middle aged person, that means I'm going to die at 86 years old. I'm living to at least 150, at least. So I'm going to take out talking about saying my number as often. I've been saying it.
And it's one of those things where I realized people will use their children's ages to mark time. And it's like, okay, so you were blah, 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 because they know at what age each kid was born, or especially if there was an only child. My mother used to do things, well, you were this age. Like, okay, so that was 3 years ago when I was that age. She's like, you know how old you are. I was like, no, I don't. My sisters and I have this thing. So I have twin sisters that are actually my blood half sisters, and they are the closest to me. So they're 8 years older than me. And we have this thing where when it's their birthday, because they were claiming their own ages for a while. And then I started saying that I was a different age. And one of them, Adrian, the one who hates everything, she's like, wait a minute, you can't be that age because I'm blah, 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 you know? And I was like, you can be whatever age you want to. I'm going to be this age right now. We decided that if our ages were 8 years apart, they actually got into it once I explained it to them. I have another one that is one of my best friends, and I call him my sister Anthony. He's a year older than me. And we used to do things that would really upset people because we'd go out to the bar together and folks would come up to us and be like, so you're cute. How old are you? I don't think that's appropriate. Asking age immediately when you're meeting somebody. But we decided because he's a year older than me and did not want to actually claim that. And I was like, well, all you have to do is say you're a year older. So he would say, I'm exactly 1 year older than my sister. They would look at me and go, how old are you? And I would say, I'm exactly 1 year younger than my sister. And they were just like, if you want to guess, you can guess, and we'll just accept it. For the longest time, I was reading younger than I actually was. And
Mm.
so I was like, I'm just gonna let that happen.
The experience of I look like I look, right? When I'm at the gym, sometimes I'm out places, but it happens a lot at the gym. Somebody in their 20s walks up, taps me up, starts asking questions. We start talking. They're giving me kudos, right? Real
Hmm.
recognize, real or whatever. And they ask me my age. I'm like, guess. But then they guess. And then I'm like, nah, I'm 43. So I'm going to stop doing that
Yeah.
because most people guess at least 5 years younger.
And so
You know?
you can say thank you. Keep it
So,
pushing.
yeah. Oh my God.
And and it's
Before we keep,
interesting. Go ahead.
I want to bring this up right now. Before we keep rolling into the next part, I met a 92-year-old server at Red Lobster who had
Mhm.
been at Red Lobster for 45 years yesterday. And she was walking around serving tables.
Well, waiting tables is good cardio. I realized that my past got fuzzy
Mm.
because I couldn't have been there at the time that I said I was if I was at the age I was. So when people are thinking that I'm in my 20s and I'm like, well, I graduated 15 years ago. So what kind of math am I going to have to do with that? It's an interesting thing going back to Cher and Madonna. Cher reinvents and doesn't even talk about it. Cher has done 5 goodbye tours and then starts up a whole new career. Madonna has reinvented herself, and her last tour was celebrating 40 years in the business. And some of the things that she's doing, I will monitor to see if she's moving a little bit slower because I'm a big Madonna fan. I remember when she fell off her horse on her birthday. How are you keeping yourself moving? I remember watching somebody talking about being on tour with Madonna and her work ethic. It's funny to realize that we're talking to a 65-year-old. And she's like up and going. I think it was Bob, the drag queen, that was talking about being in rehearsal with her. She actually gets up, acts it out, and does full performance. And I think Michael Jackson had a little bit of that too, where it's like, instead of saying, when I do the lean, he gets into place. She's doing the same thing, not just giving a snippet of the song. She's doing the entire song with full choreography as she's talking about changing something.
Mm.
And I think that's what keeps people young. to be in that space where you're like, okay, I'm gung ho and I'm here.
Yeah.
Another one, Betsy Johnson, the designer, the fact that she's still doing her cartwheels. Yeah,
And she
she's
be
been
doing
doing stuff for a
cartwheels.
long time. Betsy Johnson's aesthetic is very much like early Cyndi Lauper, but she's in her 80s and still doing all the stuff. Her signature was to do a cartwheel at the end of her show.
Okay.
And she's still,
Which
doing it.
one? Betsy?
Betsy, yeah, Betsy Johnson.
I'm gonna put Lovey on game. Maybe she can take Betsy's, you know, run the torch because she
So,
ain't acro and be doing all that.
and actually, I love Betsy because of her color palettes. She's one of those that takes a little bit of everything and puts it together.
So I
So
got a question for
I
you,
do
Paul
love
Mark. Do you have any items that you have a special sentimental value on or you hold dear because of something that happened? Or somebody gave it to you?
I do. And the interesting thing is that I have several things that I know were gifts from certain people, and they sit in spaces of importance, spaces of high esteem in my house. If a friend gave me something, then it's like, okay, I'm going to put this here so that I'm reminded of that friend. And if we ever fall out, I take it down so I don't look at it.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I want to look at you. I don't want to look at you right now.
I actually used to have the thing about not having people's pictures around
Yeah.
because I figured if I have your picture, I don't need to see you. I'm like, you know how people have family pictures and stuff all over the place? The only pictures I have are people that either I don't see a lot or people who are dead because I want to see them. Even my current friends that we went out someplace to snapped a shot, it's in a photo album.
Most of I think about the pictures in the house and their
Mhm.
family pictures. They're us or wedding pictures. Have friends in them. It's wedding. It's
I
literally us, the people who live here.
I didn't even frame my wedding picture. There's one shot that's a group shot that I love, and I know where it is, so I'll pull it out and look at it. I have an altar for my godmother, my favorite aunt, my mother's on it now. Anyone who has passed,
Okay.
it go on the altar. If you're alive, I don't have a picture of you. I may have some in my phone,
Or
but I'm not putting it out there because the goal is if I miss you, I need the incentive to seek you out. I've got gifts that I've been given from so many of my friends, and each one of them is in its own place of high esteem. Whenever I see it, it's like, oh, I still have a gift that I purchased for my favorite aunt. It was going to be her birthday gift, and she died before her birthday. And so my Aunt Nori loved Wedgwood blue, just that color. Wedgwood china has a specific shade of blue, kind of like how Tiffany's has their own shade of blue. Wedgwood has their own shade of blue.
so that color blue is Wedgwood blue. Okay.
Yes. And so, funny enough, Martha Stewart has her own shade of blue too. Martha Stewart has her
I
own,
mean, I know she was a G, but I didn't know she had her own blue.
she has her own house paint palette. The reason why I know that is
She got
because
her own hex codes. Crazy.
some of the walls in this house, when I painted, my colors are either Disney colors or Martha Stewart colors. All of the walls in this house are either Disney or Martha Stewart. I'd gotten a picture. I'd gone antiquing, and there was this picture that could be used as a flower vase or something like that. It's tall, but it's got a narrow mouth to it. I also got a little jewelry box. It's a heart-shaped jewelry box. The picture is in one place, and the heart-shaped jewelry box is right by the mouth of my hallway. I put anything important in or under that box.
Bet.
So I'm constantly seeing it. The last Valentine's gift that my mother gave me is in a special place. My mom gave me a whole lot of stuff. There were certain things that I'm just like, okay, this is the last thing
Yeah.
that's in a very special place, and I pull it out.
Mine is in my room or in my closet. It's interesting having this conversation about sentimental items. I don't hold on to stuff very much when I observe other people and then having this conversation with you. It seems like you have a deep reverence, and maybe from the experience of moving around a lot as a kid, also as an
Yeah.
adult.
Whenever you're moving, you're like, okay, we don't want to pack that up. So you're weeding out.
I've been in some family members' houses where you need some help with that garage because you can't walk through that.
My uncle is like that. My cousin calls him Fred Sanford. So his ringtone in her phone is the old theme song.
I would have laughed my ass off if I heard that.
My aunt, his wife,
Yeah.
passed away, but she would periodically go in the garage and he'd be like, girl, don't touch nothing in my garage. And she'd be like, you don't even know what's there. So she would go in, take a box just randomly, get rid of it, and see if he notices. And so every now and again, he would like, and he's the one whose birthday I was born on. So he'd be like, what happened
I
to
had an uncle who passed away, and he used to send us baseball cards, football cards. My brothers are passionate about that stuff. Stuff that that uncle gave me. It's like my brother's a better steward of this baseball, basketball card. He knows what's
yeah,
going on with this stuff. Here, bro,
yeah,
to take do
exactly.
what you do with this, whatever.
And I'm really judicious about rehoming my stuff. So, yeah, I'm thinking about like, I was not a collector. My mom tried to get me into stamp collecting and coin collecting and stuff. It wasn't a natural jam for me, so it never really took. Sometimes I think, God, that could have been an investment. And I'm
It's
sure that she was thinking that. And I was just like,
ridiculous,
nope, I don't like it.
crazy, big time.
I think that's interesting too, because I haven't moved around that much. I've had some major moves, but I've been pretty much stationary most of my life. I think that has allowed me to amass more things in my life and in my family. Are some people who just collect certain things. It's not that we're collecting everything. It's like we choose one thing. I have a collection of crystals. I have a collection of orbs, like crystal balls. I have a collection of hedgehogs because I love hedgehogs. I'm looking at my collection of crystal penises. And it's, and it's just, it's something that started because somebody gave me one. And I was like, oh, this is nice. This is cute. It's great. And then I
I saw,
started seeing them elsewhere.
you
And
don't
I was,
drink. I saw a video.
oh, there is bourbon, I think.
I wouldn't buy that bottle, but since you have a collection of crystal dicks,
I remember I had a client who came over and he was questioning, and it
yeah.
was one of the sessions we were talking about sexuality, and he's like, he looked at one of my penises and was like, would you use that dildo on me? And I was like,
What?
first off, that is not a dildo, that is art. And second, if
Yeah.
I catch you touching one of those, I paid way too much money for somebody to be shoving that
Oh,
up.
they like that, huh?
Yo, yeah. I'm like,
Crazy.
I was like, this is my decor and I like it.
You
You
heard?
but no, it reminds me of one time, which you know how, and I don't know if this is only in black households, but you know how you have the guest towels that are like, nobody touches this. This is like these are the show towels.
What the fuck you mean I can't dry my hand on the hand towel that you got hanging in the bathroom?
I'm like
This
that.
is decoration. Right? Use the paper towel.
I had a client who came over for a massage and asked to use my shower because he's like, I've been traveling. I was like, okay, that's fine. And I was like, hold on, let me get you a towel. He's like, oh, I see them. I was just making sure because I had different ones. He pulled the show towels down that were white and
Yo,
and he
yo.
scrubbed his shitty ass with them. And I was like,
Oh my. He wait.
He
After the shower?
No, during the
He's
shower. He's
he
like, but if you don't wipe properly, you
Yeah,
leave. He
yeah.
obviously did not wipe properly and left marks on
Show
my
towels.
show towels. And when I picked up the washcloth that had the most intricate design work and I saw the streak marks, I was like, damn. It was one of those things where there was a basket with all the stuff that was usable right next to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tub in the shower. He walked in and immediately went to what he saw that matched the shower curtain and everything. I remember I had bought those things from Kohl's and I was like, okay, that's a year old. I don't even know if Kohl's still has this collection. And I went through and I found I was not able to replace anything. So it came on in layers where I was like, okay, I can fix this. And then, okay, that's not fixable. I can fix that. And then that's not fixable. A gift that kept on giving.
Yeah.
And when I was new to Austin, if you're sweaty, especially during the summer, I don't want to massage you. I don't want all of that. People will do that though.
What
Wash your
the
ass.
fuck? I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
My mom
It's
and my dad in my yard. Don't go out the house looking like who done it and ran.
But I remember that, and that was something up here in Dallas, it just didn't get done. In the DFW, we're so bougie, but living in
Yeah.
Austin,
People don't wear deodorant
I know. And
like
it was
because it
that
has
caught me
chemicals
off
in it,
guard.
and people will not wear deodorant because it has chemicals in it
Yes,
at all.
exactly. And it's like, well,
I'm fucking woke.
yeah,
You
you
stink.
fucking stink. Yeah.
You need to go take a fucking shower. Like find some natural deodorant or something.
That is a whole nother episode, but that
Permission to stay fly while healing. You know what I'm saying? Permission to smell good while
permission to refocus.
healing your trauma. You know what I'm saying?
And that's interesting because those are traumas. And just like I was saying, whenever I see an item that someone gave me, I go back to the visual and I can relive all the feelings I had when it was given to me. When I think about, like, when I was telling you about that story, I was actually in that moment where I discovered it and I could see it all over again. And I was like, oh my gosh, no way. Are there some people that you've held on to for nostalgic purposes, even though they have well past their prime?
I'm trying to think right now. No, I've done it. Yeah. Knowing that, hey, this made this girl my girlfriend, and I knew there was a time where I was like, I need to cut this off, but my unhealed abandonment wounds, afraid of being alone and all that, needing validation from women, I didn't leave. I didn't stop it.
I remember I was in a relationship with somebody that had been really nice and had been very generous and everything. And I kept seeing the generosity leave. And I kept seeing the consideration leave. And I made excuses and I was like, oh, well, it's just a phase. Or, oh, well, I know who they are at their core. No, they were performing to get me to be a yes. And then who they are at the core came out afterward. And all the times where I was like, no, 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 I remember how you were at the beginning. That's going to come back. No, it was just getting worse. I kept making excuses and trying to hold on to something that had actually passed its prime. And so it's the idea of somebody's in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. He was a reason person that I stretched into a season, but no, he was just a reason.
Mm. I'm thinking about one, and I love this person, but I remember it was like, bro, looking back on it, it was like, you knew that right away. That ability to not listen to yourself can get fucking nuts.
And you're like, oh, well, it'll be better when. And it's like, no.
When I met this person, this is how I felt. And then I'm trying to take something that was never really a prime. It was just the butterflies and turn it into prime.
I remember back in my early days when I first moved to Austin, one of my friends from up here came down, and four of us went to a well-known breakfasty type restaurant that was open 24 hours at the time in Austin. They're known for their pancakes. We would each order something and it'd be like, okay, so I want this. Well, I want this. Let's just go ahead and order it and then switch halfway through or split it. I still love going to a place with friends that we can just eat family style, where we can just order a
Yeah.
bunch and then just pick off whatever we want. We were sitting there, and I remember sitting across the table from Sue and Angie. So Sue is eating this pancake and she's eaten halfway through it. Then it was time to switch. Angie took a bite of it and she's like, "This thing is awful." And Sue's like, "Yeah, I know." Angie's like, "Well, why did you eat half of it?" She's like, "I kept thinking it was going to get better."
Half. And then you want to call the server talking about, "Uh, this pancake is horrible. You ate the whole fucking thing.
Well, I hoped that it was going to get better, you know?
Well, you paying for that motherfucker. You ate that whole shit." Like,
Yeah, and I've noticed that we sometimes can do that with relationships, you know,
yep.
it's like when that relationship really should be in the past, and we're like, "Well, I'm hoping it's gonna get better." My mom had this poinsettia and this cat that was so hard-headed. This
Yeah.
cat ate the entire plant, one leaf at a time. It would eat a leaf, throw it up, and then go right back and eat another leaf. No matter where we put it, that cat was determined to eat this plant. We finally had to remove the plant from the house.
My dog does a similar thing. When it rains here, there's these toads in this area. I don't
Oh,
know what
okay.
kind of toads they are,
Hmm.
but they're toads. And
Okay.
when it rains here, there's all kinds of toads in the backyard
Hmm.
outside.
Yeah.
But when he's in the backyard and those toads are moving around, he will bite the toad, try to
Okay.
chase a toad, catch a toad, bite the toad, sometimes kill the toad, but his mouth foams up. His
Right.
mouth is foaming up. Whatever the toad secreted out of his back is defense mechanism,
Right.
and he doesn't stop. Anytime a fucking toad is out there and he
Yeah.
can get to it, he's not deterred from it at all. He goes and does that shit. One time I was like, damn, I might have to take Shadow to the vet because he went through all of that, and the rest of the day he was walking around wobbling and shit. I was, is he okay? So I did my internet thing and
It was his own
gave him a
version.
couple hours, and he was better. They don't have free will choice either. They have instinct that's like kill,
Yeah.
eat
Exactly.
until the fucking thing kills them. I mean, some of them learn, but not all of them.
There are things that have been studied about the intelligence of certain breeds of dog, I should say. With cats, the Siamese is the most determined of the cats. So it's like if it's gonna do it, it's gonna do it no matter what. You just hope that whatever it's doing is going to be something that's good for it, because otherwise there is no stopping it. Having a Siamese, they are the most vocal. Like they will talk back to you.
You have one?
Not anymore. My
Okay.
mom did not anymore. Silver was the most headstrong. I had a cat that was a long-haired domestic, part ragdoll for sure. DC was just so chill. My mom used to say, "Well, DC's better because she went to college. She was my college pet." There was something about DC that was just so relaxed, and she was very motherly. Even though she had never had kids, she looked out for me and she was like my protector, kind of like Prince is now. Yeah, so I feel like after DC, there was Peach, and Peach was just like, yeah, I'm putting up with you, but you're a lot of work. But DC was definitely a magical cat. She was truly my familiar. And
That's what's up.
I feel that Prince is like my magical protector. because he just basically walked up the street and came in and said, "Oh, I live here now." He was a
Wow,
gift. Most of my animals were gifts to
that's
me.
cool.
Yeah.
Shadow was to us. He walked in front of the car. Kids wanted a dog. He's 8 weeks old. My
See,
daughter was
yeah.
in the car with me. So yeah, that's how that happened.
I kind of feel like Prince got dumped because there's a
All
there's a park at the end of my street, and Prince just followed my neighbor up to where the houses are, and then I walked out and said hello, and then he came over to me and said hi. I reached down and pet him. He just came in. I was like, oh, because he had puppy breath, and I was like, oh, you need some water. I was like, whose are you? And he came in and he just latched onto me, and he has been like, he's right here next to me right now. He is,
cool.
he's just been here. I had said, I'm just looking to see who his owner is, and they're like, no, he's yours. He just is yours. And
Yeah,
so after 3 months I was like, well, I guess he is mine, and he's been really cool. Yes, you are.
that's what's up. Have you? Do you know of anybody who peaked early and they're still living on that peak?
So I do know some people from high school who definitely peaked early and are still living in their heyday. Even our valedictorian, she was really smart, very type A and everything. She got into college and had a nervous breakdown, but she
Uh,
still holds on to being the valedictorian. And I was like,
oh,
you lost a whole lot with that. One person, and this is a person that kind of annoys me, and it's a person I don't even know, Judith Light. She is an actress that most people know from Who's the Boss. She had been in a storyline on One Life to Live that was considered groundbreaking back in the 70s. One Life to Live is a soap opera that's no longer on the air. No, it was on for 35 years. So
it sounds like I heard about it when I was a kid. That's
yeah,
why I asked.
probably so. Well, growing up,
Alice. My mom used to watch. What she call them?
her stories,
Yeah.
people have to watch their stories. And at one point, I wanted to be a daytime actor. I watched a few of those, and I knew exactly what shows I wanted to be on. There were a lot of awards for the writing on One Life to Live. And there was one character that was really great, who was the main character of this show. Erica Slezak played that role until the end of the series. Erica Slezak won, I think, 6 or 7 Daytime Emmys. She's phenomenal. And she played split personalities. That was what actually got me interested in psychology as well. My original major was a double in acting and psychology. Judith Light went on the tour when One Life to Live was going off the air. And I was like, you've got a good publicist because you haven't been on the show for 30 years. And all of a sudden, you're like, this was my show. You haven't been on the show for 30 years.
Yeah.
And you've done other things. She's done other things. It may have been her breakout show, the thing that got her her first award. But honestly, you've done so much since then. When I was doing the research for this, she came up because that was an extreme case of you've got other accolades. Why do you keep going back to this one thing that happened
Identity.
so long ago?
Identity. This is what my identity is.
And it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, something came up on my Facebook, and it reminded me of my time when I was in Alpha Psi Omega, which is the theater fraternity. And
Okay.
we actually, when I was an officer,
Theater fraternity.
so it's specifically for theater majors. It depends on where you go. Some places it's the honor society because it's got the letters. It can be part of the Hellenistic social group. When I was an officer, I got inducted and then almost immediately became an officer. We decided that we wanted, because there were like so few people that were active, and we were like, well, let's get some new people in and have a pledge class. So we did that. And then somebody came on and was like, do you remember Alpha Psi Omega and who your big was and who your little was? People in my class were like, I don't remember. I remember who my little was, but I don't remember who my big was. And I was like, That's because you didn't have a big. I was on the team that make that happen. And this would have been in fall of 91.
What
So
is a little and a big?
a big is the full member, and the little is the pledge that you take under your wing. So
Okay.
the idea with a fraternity or sorority is you're inducting people into the family. As far as Condor is concerned, it'd be like a master coach that takes a new person under their wing and it's like,
Okay.
I'm going to tutor you and all the things. This is the sort of
So we
thing.
would be somebody would come into Condor and we basically knew if somebody new coming to Condor, we could end up being bigs.
So I started doing that and creating that whole family that is now still going strong. It kind of hit me. I started a tradition. I didn't allow myself to see that what I did made a difference somewhere.
Mm,
That was an anchor in time. And I can't be this old and have still been around at that time.
that's interesting.
Came up and I was like, wow. I did a state on myself first. Yeah. Because I was like, oh my gosh. I joked about it. I was like, oh, who's ever heard of that? And then the people who I had mentored doubled down. They started pouring into me and how I mentored them and how I made them feel comfortable. And there were so many stories that came up.
Yeah. So one of the things came up for me recently was
Mhm.
how last week,
Yeah,
give yourself more credit.
exactly.
You looked at your life and found how you're talking about, I don't talk about my age and I'm not attached to the past, how this has been helpful in being more youthful and not aging is a construct. And we know this, but the
Yeah.
ease that comes along with that framework. I can learn this and then go, this is the way I've been doing it. But nah, I can't just go here. I got to go
Right.
all the way over here. So you were giving yourself credit.
For all the places that I've been that I couldn't possibly have been and still be 27,
Yeah.
because that would be a 34-year legacy. I can't be 27 and have a 34-year legacy.
Wow, that's a deep one. It's
Yeah.
also stirring some stuff up in me about how I wasn't giving myself credit too. I've been journaling about that stuff this week.
I was married to a person who really liked words of affirmation. And I was like, well, my love language is acts of service. If you do something new, I will celebrate you. But I am not celebrating you for doing something that I know you can do.
So let me ask you a question. How do
Okay.
you see that now? Because I didn't even know that you've been married before. I've only known you
Yeah.
almost 3 years next month. How do you feel about that now?
About which part?
You just said you had someone that you were married to who was a words of affirmation person. And then you said, well, my love language is this, and I'll acknowledge you of this. And I'm asking you that because I've experienced, I'm a words of affirmation person, and
So
she's
when
acts of service in time
oh, okay.
from her. I'll say all kinds of shit to her. I don't need her to say shit to me. I used to feel like I needed it more from her.
So what's interesting is for me, two, because there's five, and the two that tied for first were gifts and acts of service. Touch was right in the middle, like I could take it or leave it. Words of affirmation, quality time were down at the bottom. His first two were the ones that were my bottom two. Were more dispersed all over the place. Mine were so polarized. He looked at it as this was just one other way because we were in counseling when we found that out. My thing was, I know that you have a past that you still haven't quite healed. If you're going to be with me, you need to work through those things because I'm not going to recreate your past. It'll be the same script with different person. And I also knew that as the spouse, it wasn't my job to do the fixing. There's a reason why doctors don't work on family. because you're too close. And especially when working with mental health, I'm too close. And I actually have a stake in the situation.
Yeah.
So I did not want anything where it's like, you're going to turn around on me and I become the villain because I manipulated you into blah, blah, blah. So I was like, no, no, we need to see our separate people because I had a team. He didn't have a team. And so when we were in counseling and we found that out, he didn't want to take the test. And I was like, well, let's just go ahead and do it together. He was reluctant to actually do the work. And I was like, let's just do this so that we can move on. When he did it, he was like, so this is just another tool you have to make me feel less than. I was like, no, no, no. I'm trying to figure out a language for us to speak to each other so we can both be more than. In his mind, he was like, this is just another thing where I'm falling short. And I'm like, no, that's not what this is at all. And he still turned it around and made it about me looking for a situation to make him wrong. But as you asked, I dove really deeply into the five love languages, and I realized that the one that really is my primary is acts of service. When I look at the others as an act of service, it makes it okay for me to do all of that stuff.
What kind of computer do you have?
I have a Mac.
Interesting. Cool. Good to know. You know, the whole, I'm not big on astrology.
Hmm.
I'm not knowledgeable about it. That's what I mean.
Hmm.
I know it's a useful tool when you know what the fuck's going on.
Right.
So the whole Mercury and retrograde thing is going on right now. I've heard about this, right? It's still going on.
Hmm.
Have you had anybody in the past come back around?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens. What's funny is some people who were one-offs that wanted to be more
Mm,
show up again. There's been some full circle moments, like even with the podcast. I've always wanted to executive produce, to be a moderator on a talk show. There
yeah.
was even before The View was a thing, I had the idea of doing brunch with a few of my girlfriends and
Doing it like that.
recording it just like that. I've had this idea of just talking about things and having it recorded and then putting it out there. So that has been something that has come up. I had a friend, Nicole, who was one of my bridesmaids when I got married. She has passed on, but she was part of the original design when I was like, let's do a talk show. And she's like, oh no, that would never ever work. She ended up doing a radio show. And
Mm,
like, okay, so it's a thing. It's gonna happen. I was a guest on her radio show, and for some reason, it never panned out. Then
mm,
Clubhouse happened, and I was
mm,
doing regular shows. I was doing channel programming for several different, at that time, it was clubs. I had a full-on 40-hour-a-week job doing programming and shows on Clubhouse during the pandemic. And that's where I met Nicole. And that's when we started working together. It's interesting how we have been a team for longer than we've been doing the Condor thing. And it shows. Got to the place where we're not only safe with each other, we're also able to be vulnerable with each other. We are completely connected
yeah. That's
and
awesome.
in intimate spaces. And with some of the condors that have come through, some of them I've gotten all the way to intimacy, and some of them we're still connecting.
Yeah.
And there are some people that just tap in to the connecting. And
Glad I'm not one anymore.
it's a growth space, allowing yourself to be enough to feel safe and
Yeah.
allow yourself to open up to another person. Being a lone wolf is hanging on to that past hurt of I can't trust anybody because I was
I'm
hurt by
scared
this
I'm going to
one.
be abandoned or betrayed.
Exactly. Holding on to that past hurt and saying, You're a new person, but because so and so did this 40
Yeah,
years, I'm still holding
I
you accountable.
I had an experience yesterday when it comes to someone coming back around. Man, this person didn't come back around directly. It was indirectly.
Okay.
This so for me, this is a friend of mine who stopped talking to me and another friend. I'm hanging out with my best friend who knows this person. This person reached out to my best friend in June saying basically would like to reconnect with me, ask my best friend for advice. And this is a conversation I had with my best friend yesterday. What that person told my best friend, it was interesting. I found it interesting what they said. That's that person's perspective. I shared with my best friend. I'm open to that person coming back around. That person needs to reach out to me and have a conversation with me because that person is the one who stopped talking. I remember that person saying that I'm mad at them. Well, and this, I'm talking June 20th. I
Right.
wasn't even still mad at that person. I was hurt. I wasn't mad anymore. When it
Mhm.
first happened, there was grief, anger,
Right.
frustration. If you stop talking to me, we're doing this
Right.
together, and then you stop talking.
Cancel, delete. That's not happening.
Like that's the kind of thing that happened. A friend like you stops talking, and a friend that I know knows things.
Mhm.
So my constructs of this person is woke or this person is actually doing the work, but completely shuts off. Like that's not doing work. You're not doing work. All that shit came online. How could a person say they're like that and they do that? Came online for me. Ta, Ta was like, "What are you?" His Ta ate me up. And you know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I was hurt, and then what are you expecting? What's your construct about how he should be doing this and that? You think this person should be acting a certain way because they're a conscious person? What does that even mean? And
Oh,
all of that shit that I had going on in my head, I'm grateful. I still love that person. I'm open to hearing him out. With that situation, I had a whole bunch of, and then another person who I love deeply stopped talking to me earlier this year. That person came back around. This is a family member who I love dearly and is closer than ever. You know what I'm talking about. 2 weeks apart, two men in my life. I've had a big thing around my manhood, me and my son. I had to deal with the remnants of my abandonment wound and
right.
people pleasing and performing for love. I got to transmute the remnants of that shit through those things happening.
When a person comes back, I'm open to you coming back. It will be a reintroduction
Yeah.
because we don't come back and pick up where we left off. You are a new person. I'm not the same person that you.
No, because I literally grieved my relationship with you.
So that relationship is done. We're coming back, and now it's let me get to know you. Even people who we haven't had a falling out, but we just haven't had a lot of time together.
Yeah.
I had a friend that I used to live with. So we were together 24 hours a day. And then they moved to another city, another state. I see them once a year.
Yeah.
So whenever we talk, we're catching up. And like it's never a 5 minute, hey, how you doing? When we live together or if we were in the same city, like my
Yeah.
friend that I see often, I can do a quick 5 minute check in. Hey, what's up? Nothing, I'm taking a nap. Okay, call me later. But when we are so far removed and there's been so much time, it's like, oh my gosh, I was thinking of you. This has happened a lot more recently where people will, I call it pinging me, but instead of calling me, they'll just think about me and I'll get the
Okay.
message and then I'll call them and they're like, oh, I was thinking about you. I was like, yeah, I know.
That's how it works. You know that?
Yeah, so
What would we call that as a spiritual gift?
it's a lower version of telepathy with the power of invocation. when you think about something, it's like manifestation, you can bring it
Mhm.
about. And so they're thinking about me, and then I get this little, and it really is like a notification. It's like, oh, so and so, I need to call that person. And a lot of times it's like, oh my gosh, this, I was just thinking about you, and I was thinking that you were busy or whatever, but now is a perfect time to talk. Sometimes it's a half hour while they're driving someplace. So it's like, we're on a speakerphone on the car. Or
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, okay, I've got something that is deep that I really need to flesh out. I have a friend that I will get a ping to call her, and she's actually my first Reiki instructor. I'll get a ping to call her, and she's like, "Oh, I was meaning to call you.
Mhm.
And there's a message that I need to ask you something." My spiritual mom is the same way. She used to test me on this. So she would, instead of calling me, think about me and see how long it took for me to call her.
I was thinking about my brother earlier in the day, and I told myself I'm going to call him tomorrow. And he hit me up. I was like, man, I was just thinking about you earlier. I told myself I'm calling you tomorrow.
You conjured him.
Yep. And we got to talk for about an hour.
Yeah. So those things happen, connecting that to the past, where when somebody has a new spiritual gift that comes online and they're connected to the first time it happened and how scared they were or how impressed they were. And I was like, okay, that ship has sailed. Now let's talk about how this works and how you can fine tune it. There were so many people that come to me for empath mentoring, and it's like something came online. I don't know what to do with it. And they're still in their past story about, oh, this is evil, this is the devil, or whatever, with all these insertions from other people. And it was like, okay, that's the past. Let's put a period there and let's see what's here in this moment right now. And that's another thing because
Does that work very well?
it's because I have trained myself to be in the present. But for me, myself to be in the present so much that sometimes I forget that I have a past. But I'm also able to go back, like I said, when I see an item that somebody gave me, I can go back to the feeling and the actual moment when it was given to me.
Sentimental value were
There you
obvious,
go.
right?
Yep.
This right here, gents, you know what
Okay.
gents is.
Yes.
This sentimental value, men's group, gang. My daughter gave me this not last Christmas, the Christmas before,
Okay.
chocolate beads, right? She bought me this bracelet because she knows me. Now she's making bracelets.
Excellent. I love that. I
Yeah.
am so proud of Lovey. I actually make my own jewelry, so I think that's absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic.
she
I'm
may
so
ask you if you want her to make you a bracelet because she's been killing it. She made $60 out here one day.
He's like, we don't normally do this on Saturdays. Why are we?
Things change sometimes. Have you
Yeah.
done any purging in your life recently?
Yeah. So I do a 6 month purge because I've got a lot of stuff. But recently I had to purge my closet because I ran out of hangers, and I cannot get the hangers that I did have because the place that I got them from is no longer.
What kind
And
of hangers?
they are actually the velvety hangers. It's like black velvet. Each manufacturer changes things just a little bit. If I were to buy another set of hangers, I would have to replace all of them.
Oh, that's crazy.
It would bother me. I create in chaos
Okay.
and can really fine tune on certain things.
All your hangers are the same?
Yes. Every hanger in each closet. I do have some wooden hangers that are better for coats in my coat closet. Each closet has all the same hangers.
The
So
hangers I saw, I'm like, I don't want to spend that much money on hangers.
at first it was about color. So it was plastic hangers and it was all color coded. I did that and I had a color for each closet. So I
Yeah.
knew what closet it went into. And the color corresponded with the color of the room. Then I moved and I had one closet and a hallway closet. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. I had gotten the wooden hangers and I was like, they don't really work for regular clothes, but they do really work for coats and stuff. So I got a set for the coat closet. Now
So,
I can't add a coat because I don't have extra hangers. So if I get a new coat, another one of the coats has to go. Exactly. And
yeah,
the same thing with my clothes. I went through and counted every item I had at the time that was a hanging item. I got some new stuff. Condor's coming up. I got new clothes because I didn't want to be in the same thing every single podcast. Some of that stuff is foldable, but some of it is hangable. I just did a huge purge with things that I haven't worn in forever, or I have it and I don't really like it. So I Marie Kondoed and I was like, let me just put this in. So what I do is I pack it away for 6 months. And that gives me time to think about if I miss it. So if I go looking for it in that 6 months, then it gets to stay. If I
you're
don't,
a sacral generator,
yeah, managing.
but you're what's
Sacrals.
your
My
sacral
my
authority?
my only defined authority is
I've
sacral.
got three defined centers. I have access to all defined centers when I'm with them.
And I've got it's just me. So I'm
Yeah.
in creative chaos a lot. But I can focus when I decide to focus on one thing. But otherwise, I've got multiple things going on the time. Yeah. So as a matter of fact, I was talking to Kelly and she's like, how many definitions do you have? I was like, I've just got the one. And she's like, wait a minute, I've got two, and that's a lot. You've only got one? I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, Paul Mark.
I just had a realization.
I've been going through this purge and because I needed hangers. And that meant I had to go through everything. I'm focused on reclaiming hangers. So I'm going through everything and pulling it out because usually I do it at the change of seasons. It's just that this is early. So I'm going through all of my stuff to figure out, okay, you're taking up a hanger and I haven't pulled you out in forever. I don't need you on a hanger. So that was a recent purge.
Yours is on a timer. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Mine is not. Do it when I feel like I need to do it, but I've gotten pretty good at least me personally. And the vibe is spreading throughout the house. I keep the flow going. I keep the circulation going. Like if
Right.
it's getting old and I ain't using it, sometimes my wife is like, "You can give it away," and I'm like, "Throw that shit in the trash. I don't want to hold on to that shit. I ain't trying to have my garage not be walkable type shit."
Right.
Yeah,
So, and I will move it out of my main site. And then if I don't miss it, that's when I'm like, okay, this can go. I have multiples, and I also have been trying to find the perfect lapel mic that works for me. So I recently added this.
all right.
Here's the other one.
It's like, which ones are those? Are those from TikTok?
Yeah, from TikTok.
Okay,
So I have a few of the little mini mics, the ones that look like regular mics just in miniature. I have a few of those and I have used them, but this
kind of
has
shitty.
actually been better. And I also got one that I haven't hooked up that offers sound effects. So TikTok has said, hey, you want to try this? And I've been like, oh, well, let's see. So now I'm getting that. Eventually, when we want sound effects, I'll be able to do my own sound effects over here.
You can do that right now.
Right before we started, I was thinking about we don't have a theme song. So eventually we're going to upgrade.
We're
Let's
gonna
see.
have something that sounds like you're traveling into a portal.
Well, what's really funny is I was like a variation on the Doctor Who theme because it feels like you're traveling through space. And of course, our logo is loosely based on that time portal thing too. So like being in a wormhole. The wheels have been turning, and one of the things is doing this. I went and invested. I was like, okay, let's get some wardrobe. Let's try different locations in the house to see what location I like better. Let's find a mic that's going to work for a lot of the things. I've been doing lives on Facebook, the stuff on Clubhouse, Zooms, and now we're recording. So it's
Yeah,
like I need to get better mics and sound.
I was thinking about doing a whole lot more, but now that I repotted my money tree,
Huh.
it needed a new pot, and now
Mhm.
I'm going to leave it there because it used to be over here. I like it
So
right there.
there is a space right there above the money tree that you could put our logo in neon, just saying. So, because I've seen and being on TikTok, I'm also trying to get more followers on TikTok so I could go live there. But seeing other people that are doing things on TikTok and seeing that they've got their names in neon, which I always thought was a little gauche. I was like, I would never ever. But
What
now
is gauche?
gaudy,
Gaudy?
gaudy, yeah,
Gaudy?
gaudy, yeah.
What, having your own name in neons?
Yeah, well, just neon in general. So now I've changed my mind. I kind of
You
want one.
you thought neons were gauche with your hair?
I know.
Oh wow, it's so crazy how our minds work sometimes. But
Hey, I went to charm school, so there were certain things that it's embedded. All the
got it.
things that are like, oh, well, we just don't do that. All of that stuff I have learned.
We just don't do that. Yep.
And I branch out. I was like, well, you don't do that, but I
Right.
do.
Now, look, here, I'm gonna tell you what we do.
Exactly.
I'm gonna tell you what we do over here. We're gonna lotion our legs. We're gonna moisturize our hair. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We don't do that.
I was trained to do or not to do. And then I question it and figure in, okay, what am I leaning into right now?
Yeah.
Because my brain is so chaotic already, I have to pick my battles. So my battle was having green hair because I didn't feel right having anything else. So now that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have my green hair. And it took me a long time to find the right shade of green. You saw me in different shades before I
Mhm.
landed on this one. And for the health of my hair, I couldn't change it as rapidly as I wanted to, but I found something that just felt right. It just resonated. And so now that that is set, I can move on to something else. And my godson actually called me one day when I had just lifted my hair. I have to go almost platinum to put this color on. He called me when I was in the middle of lifting my hair, and he saw me as a blonde. His face tore up because, all his life I've had green hair. He doesn't know me with anything other than green hair. So he saw me and he's like, "What did you do to your hair?" And it's so funny because he was trying to smile, but his face would not lie.
My dad cut his beard off
Mm-hmm.
when we were I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him coming out his room. I was scared. Like, who does this thing? He cut his beard and mustache off. Like, I don't know if you've seen Instagram and seen men do that.
And the babies are crying.
I wasn't a baby, but you're not my dad.
Right.
That's how
Right.
it
So
felt.
who are you?
Yeah, just because some facial hair.
And actually, so growing up, I needed glasses because one eye bad and one eye is not too bad at all. I just can't remember which is which. I think the left is the worst eye, but it threw off my depth perception. So I needed to have glasses for depth perception, but I didn't like the look of it. I recognized people by the shape of their hair. We had like 7 sets of twins in our high school, and I recognized them by the shape of their hair.
Mm.
And I knew which twin I was talking to. So in Texas, high school is 10th, even though ninth is included, we have junior high, and ninth is the last year of junior high. So it's 10th through 12th. Or at least when I was coming up, it was 10th through 12th.
That's interesting because our age isn't that far apart. Stuff can change like that, right? It can change 1 year. Bang, that's not how it is anymore.
I was in the class of 90. The classes of 91 and 92 doubled in size each year. Us
People coming to Texas.
because there was so much of a boom. ended up restructuring a lot of things.
When it comes to the past, revisiting it but not staying there, this is what's coming up for me right now with people. We've been talking a lot about different things like sentimental about items and people. What for you? Do you have a favorite tool to support people in visiting the past? Sometimes we need to go there in order to heal, transform, break free, whatever you want to call it. Do you have a favorite thing to help them navigate that?
Actually, I do. One of the things that I learned, and this came from me doing Reiki on people, when they have this idea, or say if there is a hurt, I can say, when was the first time you felt that? When was the first time you heard that? When did this happen? For me, time not as linear as we think. Time is like a record. There's one continuous groove that goes all the way around toward the center. To be able
Spiral.
to be able to skip a track is pick up the needle and go to a specific track, a variation of that question helps take people directly to that. It's interesting that a lot of times people think that linearly you have to stop when was the last time you felt it, and then the time before that, and then the time before.
Probably is connect. Well, when you go the first time,
Yeah, everything
I
else
mean,
fits. Yeah. It's what has happened is, a lot of people feel like you have to keep digging and it's one shovel at a time.
see, that's in some green confetti or some shit because that's some Hallmark shit for real. What the fuck?
A backhoe. Anyway, so yeah, but instead of having a shovel and just kind of doing it one shovel at a time, then you can have a backhoe and get down to the source.
Yeah, the way you're using that, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. My experience of my first year of diving in, like,
Now,
was backhoe. Let's just, for disclaimer, in
mhm,
case your mind works a little bit differently around that backhoe to your past, every chance I could, every story, every event. Now I'm cool with it. But
yeah.
when I was the first year of doing shadow work, before I got really good at navigating my shit,
That's interesting
re-traumatization.
because you can re-traumatize yourself. What happens is I have several clients that are have this idea of I'm going to dig it up and pull out the root. And I was like, well, no, that's foundational. So you can just see what the root is connected to. And
Story
then,
time. Quick.
yeah,
What was I doing when I met you? Do you remember?
I know that you were waiting tables.
At True Food Kitchen,
Yeah,
downtown Austin.
yeah.
Okay. I started working at True Food Kitchen, downtown Austin, April 2022. I got back into fitness coaching in 2020 and it blew up again. Then I started doing shadow work. I realized I've been doing this competition to prove myself and beat others in shows and prove my self-worth and my value due to
Mhm.
this deep-seated anger I've been carrying around since I was 8.5 years old in October 1991 when this event happened. And I created this story that I wasn't good enough to have life be the way that I wanted. When I had that exercise happen and that big of a boom, this shit's been running my life for 31 years. I was like, everything like that in my life, I'm turning it on. That year was beautiful.
Right.
And after my first, before this is before Condor integration, really understanding it, after my first ayahuasca retreat,
Okay.
5 day long, my first ever plant medicine retreat where I did ayahuasca
Mhm.
a week before I move into this house. I come back home a week before we are moving into here. I'm packing up, moving. There's a lot of stuff I had been talking to my wife about. We need to get rid of this stuff, all this old stuff coming out. Then I decided I'm going to just go into this life coaching shit. I'm going to leave the fitness coaching shit alone. 2 months later, I'm broke as fuck.
Even when you're
Anger,
fitness
yeah.
coaching
My
is
whole
still life
anger
coaching.
the root of anger and whatever, I'm replanting the whole tree.
Right.
Now I'm waiting tables again. And I was
See,
happy as fuck about it. Then I met Tom Cole sitting at my table 2 months later, a month
because
later.
you had a divine appointment at
And
True.
then Cole's like, I start talking to him. I got on ceremony bracelets at the time. They sat, I see what they're wearing. I'm like, oh, these my people. They're at my table. These look like my people. I start talking to him, telling them why I'm working at the restaurant. Cole's like, follow me on Instagram.
Yep.
People go into these things and they don't have integration. You kick out the whole foundation of your life because you had this
Yep.
opening and this realization about this thing that's created all this success for you, but yet you created it from this easy belief about yourself.
I remember Cole, when we were speaking on Clubhouse, she would use the term cosmology. And she was the first person that actually used it often. Have like a bingo card of when Cole was going to say cosmology. And I would be like, oh, she said it. One of the things that we all bonded over was the fact that we have different analogies that really resonate. And Cole's analogy of having a weight-bearing wall
I
is
think that might have been what she
so
was talking about.
it's so important. And I had used the root because like sometimes like when you're repotting a plant, trim off some of the excess roots, but you don't trim off the entire root ball, you know? And sometimes
Wouldn't
when
that kill the tree or kill the
yeah,
plant?
if there's dead
No
roots.
roots at all?
And so what happens is when people are going in, it's like, I need to find the root and uproot that. No, you don't. Yes, exactly. And
It doesn't mean,
When Cole
heal the
said,
wound, honor the scar. That doesn't mean you freaking
ex-
burn the whole thing, the root down.
and some people are like, oh, well, I have a hole in my wall. I need to burn the house down and start all over again.
How about you just fix the hole?
Exactly. And so when Cole started talking about having a weight-bearing wall, and because I'm a theater major, I know how to build things. It made sense. I was like, yeah, if you have a weight-bearing wall, you don't just tear out the whole wall. You figure out what is holding up the weight, and there's
Yeah.
ways around it. I had a lot of clients because then I was doing a whole lot of spiritual work, and I still do it, but it's grown now. I was doing a whole lot of spiritual coaching with people that were like, oh, I need to find this root and then pull it out and yank it out. And there were people in different modalities that were like, oh, you have this hurt. Let's go in and pull out the root. No,
Knowing,
who you
no
are.
understanding root cause does not mean destroying the root.
Exactly.
Take it from personal experience and don't
That-
do what I did. I wouldn't know you if I hadn't done it though,
Exactly.
because where did I meet you? I met Tom Cole. But
Exactly.
all divine.
You had a divine
This is
appointment.
part of why I'm here. The people I met, because I made that mistake. It wasn't a mistake.
It was a detour.
It was a detour. The people I met and that I met Paul Mark Drew,
Mhm.
that we talk a lot about we have concepts that we teach. And the energy running through the root, the fertilizer, the soil, the water you're pouring on there, whatever miracle grow type shit you want to use is what matters when it comes to the root. The fruit on the plant can change,
And sometimes too much fertilizer can kill the root.
then you got to take care of the plant differently.
Right.
It doesn't mean kill the plant.
Exactly. And what happens is, yes, there are ways that you can trick a plant into fruiting or into flowering. And if you put too much fertilizer, you can actually end up killing the entire plant. As I'm working with people, there are times when I'll see somebody and it's like, I could use a backhoe to get to the source, and this system is not acclimated for that kind of work.
I had to
And
pause
so,
myself the other day.
I'm
I
going
asked that question you said
to.
to a client.
There are some people who feel like they're ready for it, and it's like, no, there's too many traumas there. I have to remind people that this healing work is like going to a buffet. You are not obligated to eat everything that is offered there.
I'm only speaking from experience. I know I went to the buffet, and like Paul Mark said, I put everything on my plate and wondering why I feel like I went backwards. When I was at the job 2 months, 3 months in, I'm like, what the fuck?
And I have done that where I've had jobs where or I've been an entrepreneur where I'm doing all of this stuff and it's me, me, me. And then I decide, you know what? I need a no-brainer job. And so I will stop and work for somebody for a while so that I can rest. I can let my brain rest. And then I decide, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. And I've noticed that as I take those other jobs, there are side quests that will train me in something new.
My side quest changed my life, really. Uh,
So, have you ever wanted to revisit old addresses or schools? And I know you moved around a lot.
yeah, I have.
Do you actually go and do that? Have you actually gone to do?
Yeah,
Okay.
address. So when I was a little kid, the first house we lived in Texas, in Killeen, Ridgely Court, we planted a sequoia tree when I was 4. So, the sequoia tree was like this. And that sequoia tree is the biggest tree on the block.
Okay.
It's a big tree. So I'm
Right.
taking my kids to see this tree.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did the two places that I lived in because I was too young. I don't remember it really. In Chicago, I did go back on my last trip. I did go back just to see what they looked like. I remember last time I was in Alabama, my father's family, my biological father, is from Dora, Alabama. So I was able to go there from Birmingham, and I was able to go by and see his Aunt Dot. That's my Aunt Dot. He was actually there, and I hadn't seen him in years. So I'm sitting at Aunt Dot's, and when you go into Alabama, they will talk about how fat you've gotten, and
mm,
then force feed you something, whatever it is. You haven't eaten, have you eaten anything? Well, yeah. Okay. Well, I just made, and then as you're eating, it's like, ooh, you gotten fat. And it's like, okay, so that's a weird thing to say. But I was sitting there eating some sweet potato pie because she does a really good sweet potato pie.
that triangle beat.
Right? And the Alabama sweet potato pie is everything. And then I
Yeah,
hear a car and she looks up and she's like, that's Tiger. And I was like, who? Yeah. And then sure enough, he drove up and I was like, I haven't
Tiger.
being my father. And I
Okay,
had seen him in forever because, and in the family, everybody's got nicknames, whoever.
got
And so he took me over to the big house that we used to call, which is actually it's pretty small. I mean, there's a lot of rooms in this shack of a house, but as a kid, I thought it was absolutely huge.
yeah.
And I saw it as an adult, I was like, that's not so big. Yeah.
Like going back to elementary school as an
Yeah.
adult, you're like, why the fuck is the sinkway down there?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, this used to be right.
Yeah,
And so it was an interesting thing to see things from such a long vantage point because I was a full-on adult. I'd already been married and
yeah,
adult and all the other stuff. And so to see those things, and also one of the funny things is a lot of the schools that I went to are no longer. So it's like it's weird that my first junior high, I drive past where it was, and there's a whole different school there. My second junior high is still there. My high school is there, but it is completely different. So what was here is now the entire block. And then looking at it and going, okay, so that was the original entrance. And then trying to like even I had a friend whose kid was in something. And so I went to the auditorium to see, well, there was a new auditorium. So I'm getting lost in the building that I thought I knew. And it was like, I don't know where this auditorium is, because where I knew the auditorium to be, that's something else now. Exactly. It was a
Yeah.
complete remodel. And so I was like, wow. And then, as I'm there, as I'm able to walk around, I'm thinking, okay, so now what was here? And what's, trying to figure out where the seams are. What was the original school? And again, there were a lot of students who would come back because our high school does homecoming an awful lot, and we have some people that are like dyed in the wool, like Arlington High, Colts all the way. And people that went to Arlington High back in the 50s and 60s would come back and be like, I remember when we were only just this front hallway, and then
Yeah.
three hallways, and now it's a whole block. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I remember when we were just three hallways.
Now, my, my high school has grown a little, but there's another high school now in my
Okay.
town. And
Mhm.
so Elton has two high schools. Is and when our population sign said 15,000, I think there's
Right.
probably more, but that's what the population sign said when I graduated,
Mhm.
15,300 or something.
Right.
And Friday night, like streets empty. Everybody's at the football game,
Right.
you
Right.
know. But now it's like Belton has two 4A high schools.
But I didn't actually have to work out and play. I was just doing all the support stuff. It was interesting that there were some people that were on the team that I
Yeah.
was really close with personally, and they were curious, and
Mm.
I knew what was up, and we had these experiences,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, don't tell nobody. How many times
Yeah.
have I had that? Don't tell nobody, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it is what it is, And I've been in that place multiple times. Gonna have another conversation about that. It's interesting to be in these places and to be able to visit these spaces and know that I'm not the same person I was.
Yeah.
I went to that school. I'm not the same person I was when I lived in that place. And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, I've lived all over this house. And there are some times where I will go to something thinking, oh, it's in this drawer or in this cabinet in the kitchen. And then I'm like, no, that was 4 times ago when I lived, 4 remodels ago. And it's like
Mhm.
it doesn't live there anymore.
Mhm.
But there's still times where I'll think of something and my brain will be like, oh, it should be in here. And it's like, no, it was in there in back when I was in high school or back when I had just come out of college. It's like different remodels and different things where we have, moves, remodels, whatever, that, things have moved around. And
Yeah.
so it's one of those things where my brain is like, it should be here. No, that's where it used to live. I have a friend who works with Alzheimer's patients, and they can remember things from 30 years ago, but can't remember what happened an hour ago.
Yeah.
And so that is a weird thing because they actively have decided to go back and live in the past. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was their brain saying, okay, for it to be over here
Yeah.
for whatever reason. It could be for tissue deterioration or something like that. But to be in a space where you're thinking things and you're looking and you're seeing people, like I have several friends who are dealing with parents that are in that state where it's either dementia or Alzheimer's, where there is a thing where it's like, oh, I like you because you remind me of somebody else that I knew 30 years ago. We see it a lot where it's the granddaughter, but the person with dementia or with Alzheimer's thinks it's their daughter. It's like because you're so and so. And so it's like, oh, well, and you don't argue with them, you don't correct them, you just kind of keep it moving. That is where your brain has decided, okay, I'm going to go live in the past now.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have those moments of lucidity or moments of presence, I should say, where They're like, why is everything so different? And it's great. I was really lucky that even though her body deteriorated, her mind was still with her all the way
Um,
up into the last week. You know,
yeah,
that was really great. But there were times I had a neighbor who Prince followed home. His wife went into early onset dementia and she just completely changed. And I saw it every day in front of the house. I would see it just happening. And I was like, wow. And she was a good friend.
yeah,
See her just get to where she barely knew who I was. And to see it where she didn't even know who her husband was.
yeah. That's wild.
So that's a thing. And again, I wonder if that would happen to me, and I'm not bringing that on. But I've thought about it, and it's like because I didn't my my age, my experiences aren't in chronological order because I never claimed an age. And I was like, am I going to go into that? My thing is like, I don't plan on dying. I plan on just one day ascending. Just one day I will just open my arms and rise into the heavens. That'll be
Yeah, kind of same vibe. Like me and my wife, we going after we both live to 150, at least 150. We've told ourselves we're gonna die together, like the Notebook.
Oh, how sweet.
That's
And
my.
actually, speaking about the notebook, that's another thing.
We watched that movie for the first time together back in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Nostalgia can show up differently.
I have a picture I posted recently of me and my wife. I do that sometimes too when I'm sharing about our relationship, our dynamic, how it's been, and
Mhm.
I go nostalgic
For
there.
now. And realizing that you're not where you were then. You're
Oh
where
yeah, and I show people. My intention is to go show people either what it was like or hey, this we dated back then too, like
right.
way then, and then we broke up for 5 years and we got back together and this is where we're at now. Like it's pretty cool.
That is how your mess becomes your message. So
Yeah,
when you're able to look at the past and say, okay, I was here and now I'm here.
I'm with my best friend last night, and I've known him since I was 19. Been
Exactly.
through all the shit. He came to my house as a guest of one of my female friends, and my girlfriend at the time sitting in the front seat. She hops in the back with him. We're headed to a house in Belton to go have a roll party. And so now we're from let's go have a roll 1918 roll
Yeah.
party, going through all the phases of life and from that that young man, still a kid, teenager, and to now we've been through some shit,
right.
fights, bar fights. I mean, we've been through some. We were wild, and sometimes we look back and
I was like, was that us? Did I
that
do?
was really us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, the fuck? Oh my god.
We've had conversations, and I have friends who are like, well, I'm too old to do that now. I was like, well, I'm not too old to do it. I just choose not.
Under
Yeah.
the consequences
Right.
that you were risking your whole fucking life. Like
Well, back in the day,
you could go under the jail, nigga.
so so right now I could end up under the jail for some of the things. I remember I was driving past a parking lot and there's a studio movie grill that is in my neighborhood. And there's like, there was the very front, but then there's the side where there's extra parking. And this guy was in his truck and he was digging around on the passenger side. So it's like it just looked like, there was a butt with an open truck door. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I remember some of the things I did hanging out of the side of a car. I was like, oh my gosh, I could not do that here because there's cameras everywhere. And there was like this barrage of things that I got away with in public.
Can I do two things?
Yeah.
One time, 92 Honda Accord that I got maybe a week or two. I got this car 2 months before I graduated, maybe a month before I
Mhm.
graduated high school. That following year, this is I'm out of school, 2001.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm swinging up and down the highway in that Accord that has Accord in big, the Honda font Accord,
Right.
but across the front of the windshield on the top. You remember how car
Okay.
people used to do
Yeah.
that with decals?
Yeah.
I had Accord across the top, and I had a giant Honda H on the back window, white
Okay.
decal, tinted black car, tinted windows, but those decals are white. I'm swinging down I-35 Williamson County,
Okay.
90, 100 miles an hour, going through Williamson County, coming over the hill in Georgetown
Mhm.
with a brick of that compressed Mexican weed under my front passenger seat.
Okay.
A brick.
Okay.
My brick was a pound, right? But it was a pound of weed. It didn't
Which,
matter what kind of it was.
yeah,
I got pulled over by a state trooper.
see, we learned that
Flying.
early on. We learned
And
that early
and
on.
I got a ticket. Another sort of thing like that. When I was selling cars, we used to take lot cars just for test drives.
Mhm.
No, we didn't ask for permission, right? Hey, don't take
Right,
this
yeah.
permission to go do this dumb shit. But I'm working at the car lot, 2003 Z06. You know what that is? I know you say you're not really a car person.
Not really.
A Z06 is a high performance Corvette. Okay,
Okay.
so you already have Corvette, Z06 Corvette,
My
a
friend Craig would have known that right off the bat.
freaking
Oh, that's his favorite color.
red interior, no
Okay.
6 speed.
Okay.
I can drive the fuck out of a 6 speed. I'm like, I'm gonna go drive this car.
Mhm.
I took it on back roads called Stagecoach Road in Killeen, Texas. This is a back road, and I'm speeding, I'm moving, and I start slowing down. And I get to about probably 90 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour. Fucking cop passed me. That cop turned around.
Mhm.
So I'm at work, car
Mhm.
salesman. I got the keys. I grabbed the keys to the vet. I'm not going on a test drive with a guest or a
Right.
customer. I
You
took
would
that
be in
bitch on the back road
trouble.
to fucking run it, and the fucking cop started chasing me. I ran.
Okay.
I said, "Fuck that! I'm not getting caught in this motherfucker." I got that bitch up to like 150, 160, going back to work, and pulled back up at work, put them keys back up, sat at my desk, sweating my ass off. Like,
Well, that's so funny because the toll roads up in Williamson County right now, I can understand that. So it's interesting that my stuff was not stuff that was outwardly something that could have gotten me into the jail unless I was seen.
my boy
But
was taking chances for real.
I do remember there were lots of things like that. There were certain clubs, and as an adult, certain
Yeah,
clubs that I could go to, and it's like I lived 30 minutes away and I didn't feel like taking somebody all the way home. And so we would do whatever we wanted to do
at the
in,
club.
in the car at the club. And what I was thinking of was that there were times that on a date, if the date was at the mall or whatever, which I have hooked up at the mall before, and not in the mall, but in the mall parking lot. There are cameras everywhere. And so there's no way I would think of doing those things. And those things that were just everyday happenstance,
Oh
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
technology's way too gangster now. You're not getting away. They're gonna track you. They're gonna be able to see you driving that there all the way back to work.
I was talking to a friend of mine that lives in London, and she was saying that there was something where it's like there's camera recognition. And so they have it where if you're walking down the street, you were being caught by over 300 cameras in
Wow.
in like a mile. So it's like they can catch you from one camera to the next and figure out exactly where you are. So that's a very interesting thing. And I was like, well, I wonder if that's going on here. It's not just yet, but that's where we're headed, to be able to track specifically where one person is and their entire route from one place to another. So
Mm,
this whole idea of, well, no, I wasn't there. It's like, oh yeah, you were, because we have you on 10 different cameras showing you, is this you? Is this your face? Where back in the day, it used to be like, well, if nobody witnessed it, if there was not a face, then they didn't see it. It didn't happen. But now everything is recorded. And that made me a little nostalgic for the things that we used to be able to get away with because there weren't cameras. I enjoy the fact that now I don't have to carry a camera as well as the phone and everything. Like, I love the fact that my phone is also a camera. So that's one device. Because I remember there was a time when I worked for a photographer, so having an extra bag that was the camera bag with film and stuff like that. And sometimes there was an extra bag just for film, you know?
mm,
I remember all of that stuff. And going digital has been, a serious upgrade. But then also with that digital technology, it meant that now there are hidden cameras everywhere and you're always on camera.
mm.
So that's a
Yeah.
thing that I kind of miss. The fact that I could go make a mistake, and if nobody was actually there, then it didn't really happen.
Yeah. Something you said a few minutes ago reminded me when I was a kid, I called the fire department. I was 5. I called the
Yeah.
fire department. I called the fire department and told them there was a fire on the next street over, Lago
Oh
Trail.
no.
This is in the house where I planted the sequoia, right?
Yeah.
So that's how little I was. I called the fire department and told them there was a fire in a house, or a house was on fire on the next street over, Lago Trail.
Okay.
Funny thing is, I lived on Lago Trail in 6th grade, but
Okay.
that day, I heard I'm outside. I heard the fire truck go to the fucking next street. I heard sirens and shit. I'm laughing. I go back inside. I'm chilling. My mom coming. Then I go back outside,
Uh-huh.
and well, oh, my mom's like, "Hey, Lazarus, did you call the fire department?" No. Why would I do that? Lie, lied. No, no. I didn't say hell
They
no,
know
but
exactly what house called.
well, yeah, I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned real. I learned that day. You gonna learn today? Oh, I learned today. I learned that day. Don't call the fire department because I was laughing until I lied, and then my mom was pissed because I lied because they called her the recording of my voice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, and then she's like, they got your voice on the recording.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, I got my ass whooped that day.
Yeah. Well, because now I mean, you can get a ticket, and she would have gotten the
Yo,
ticket.
yeah, I learned that day.
So I had a friend whose youngest dialed 911 and was talking. He was 3, but he dialed and was talking to the operator.
Just talking.
Yeah, just talking. They lived in Belton, and so the police officer came out, and she was like, "What's going on?" It's like, "Well, your little one dialed 911, so we had to come check, you know." But he was just hitting random numbers and ended up dialing 911. And so it's like it's odd, but yeah, he couldn't say where he was or what his address was, but they had to do a welfare check just in case. And so here she is doing laundry, and then all of a sudden a police officer is knocking at the door, and she's like, "What?" You know. And so it's like, "Oh, well, that's what happened." So I got a phone call of her saying, "You know what Eli did?" Yeah, but yeah. there
One of
are
the
things
things, go ahead.
there are things just like calling in, and do not do this, but kids would threaten to call in a bomb threat to get a day out of school or to, to hit the
Don't
fire
do
alarm,
that. You gonna
which,
be
yeah,
ruined.
exactly.
Don't do
Yeah.
that. So one of the things that just came up for me is, in my experience,
Mhm.
I found it healing to be able to talk about these things in the past. I remember being able starting one, I'm a social media person, I'm a coach, I post about shit.
Right.
I would have people ask me like, I remember people ask me like, why are you talking about that? Some people get offended me talking about certain things, and I'm just like, okay, I get it, but this is where, for me, this is where one of the places where permission to visit the past but not live there showed up was being able to, when I've transmuted the energy around those things, I can talk about anything in my fucking past now. And I can tell people,
Because
I
you're
can
not
tell
stuck
all
there.
kinds of people. And I'm just like, yeah, this is what happened. This is what I did. Why is that? What keeps that from being easy for so many people? I,
So it's been, and I've dealt with some people who have been doing this, and it becomes diseasy when you're holding on to the story. And I often say, you may have heard me say it.
so Paul Mark be like, if they're still in charge, you ain't done yet.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And what
Hmm.
is the charge?
See? And,
What
the charge.
emotion is the charge?
So the charge is actually the story, and the story may have multiple emotions. So I was thinking about it like we were talking about being gung ho about me being a cult. One of the things I really, really wanted was a letter jacket, and I held
Okay.
on to that thing. I did not wear it when I went to college. It just sat, and then it got, because I didn't take good care of it, it just sat in the closet. It got to the place where it kind of dry rotted. And I was like, you know what? I can let this go. And I had to let go of the, because I worked for 2 years to get it. You had to compete in things.
Mm,
And so I competed in theater and I competed in UIL for choir as well. And so I got it in choir and then I got a pin for theater. And
mm,
I was like, this is so important to me. And then after a while, I was like, it's not functional. And I had to get rid of it. Now, the fact that I did those things, that didn't go away. The item that reminded me of it had to go. And so I worked through those emotions of saying, you know what? I'm not still that person. Just like
yeah.
you were talking about your class ring, I still have my class ring. It is engraved with the name that I no longer use.
Yeah.
Because at that time, I thought, oh, professionally, I'm going to use this name. I don't use that name. And
Mm,
so it's like, it's not even, it belonged to me, but I'm not that same person anymore. And so when I look at it, it's like, oh, okay. And there are some times where going to Six Flags and getting t-shirts that are airbrushed. And so I realized that there were some things like, going to a concert and keeping a concert t-shirt or being in a show and having a program from the show or having a show t-shirt and being able to repurpose those things into something usable. But at some point in time, you're like, okay, let's get rid of it. Like my ex-roommate, her grandmother actually took all of her show t-shirts and turned them into a quilt. So she had a quilt that was a bunch of memories. This was a person who did a lot of scrapbooking.
mm.
And then she ended up having a mental thing that she was holding on to some stuff. And it was like, well, it's because you're holding on to not only your stories, but everybody else's. And when you let go, then you don't, your brain has to rewire itself. She was having seizures. And it's like, because you're holding on to too much. and your brain's like, I don't know where to put this. So it's like reboot, reboot, reboot. And now that she's able to let go of those stories, she's in a space where there are no more seizures. He talked about that, and it's like, you don't have to know because I have to watch it from the very beginning to get to this space. And I was like, I don't have to watch a show to talk about a particular scene. You can give me enough backstory to get me to that space. Now I will look at a first episode and be like, I don't know if I care about this stuff, so I will go in few episodes and then just drop in and see if I care. I also do that when I'm reading like a fiction book. I will open to a random page to see if it grabs my interest. And if that page grabs my interest, then it's like, okay, I want to see how we got there. And then I will start and read the entire book. And
Mm,
so that's just how my brain works. I know that some people, feel things have to be linear, and I'm just not one of those people.
yeah,
I'm okay with having a preview and then saying, okay, let's go back to see how we got there.
that's what's up.
Yeah. So this has been so interesting because the past can be powerful, and
Yeah.
the present is where we are right now. So it's important to dial into where you are now. And I've often said that anxiety lives in the future, depression lives in the past. So to be able to look in the past and say, okay, that's where I was, I'm here now. And even when it comes to exactly a clock that says now, you're just in the now. That's exactly what it is. And when people come to me with stories about things, and when I'm asking, how are you now? What are you feeling in your body? Where are you now? What are you feeling right now? And to get people retrained to be in the right now, in
Retrain.
this now
Retrain.
moment. Yeah. Once you are fully anchored in the now, then you can look in the rearview mirror. Like,
Switch lanes,
yeah,
and like,
exactly.
we don't drive staying looking in that motherfucker.
The windshield, which looks forward, is bigger than the rear view. Sometimes you have to look back to see if it's safe to switch lanes, but for the most part, you're just looking forward. And so you're in your car and you're not worried about what's going on in everybody
And
else's
and
car.
it's so interesting that analogy. We're using the rear view mirror and looking forward, and sometimes you need to look back to see if it's safe to change lanes. I
Mhm,
really learned something about my incarnation cross and
mhm.
all that when it comes to human design and the gates and all the stuff. And one of my things, and I noted when I learned this, I was like, oh, I do that a lot. Like
Yeah,
what I mentioned, being able to look at the past and get the lesson from it, freely talk about it. Like
right.
that's literally in my incarnation, part of my one of my gates in my incarnation cross, and being able to like I think it's a gate of confusion or something. Like always looking at the past to try to
Right.
figure out the lesson from the thing. I get why it can be called confusion, but that's not how I experience it anymore, at least.
Well, with
Um, I,
confusion, there's also curiosity.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm
uh,
very inquisitive. My mom used to always say, use that word.
mhm.
And
And in
being able,
asking the question, sometimes it can be confusing. Just like
yeah.
there are some times where I'll say things and you'll stop and be like, what does that mean? And I can tell when I've stumped you or
Well, I don't know the meaning of the word. I'm gonna ask. I'm not just
right.
gonna skip over it.
And for me, I'm like, let's look at the context and see if I can keep going and figure it out. Whereas you're like, stop.
Give me the word.
What does that mean?
Well, normally, if I hear it and I can catch the context, I can catch it right away.
I don't know if you've seen the movie Mame.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Never
So it's a classic film with Rosalind Russell. That's
classic,
my
probably not.
version. And I loved Auntie Mame. And she
I've
is
heard of Auntie May.
no, it's Mame, Mame, Mame.
Oh,
Yeah. And
okay.
so Mame is this kind of a jet setter type woman who inherits her nephew. And she's such a go-getter, such a jet setter that she's like, I don't know what to do with the kid, but I'll figure it out as I'm going. And she actually speaks really fast, but she has all of these things. One of her opening monologues is telling Patrick, well, this is this and this is that. And I speak a lot of fast, so I'm going to give you a tablet. And so she gives him a little tablet and a pencil, and it's like, if I say anything you don't understand, write it down. We'll explain it later. And then she just keeps on going. And that sensibility, because my godmother was very much an anti-mame,
Yeah.
and I got that. And so it's like, and my godmother would do things like that. She would go on this whole rant, and then would like when she was done with her thought, she would look and be like, was there any part of that that you did not understand? And then we'd go back and we'd fill it in. She had to get through her thought. And then she would stop and be like, okay, honey. And she would call me sweetheart. She was like, okay, sweetheart, was there any part of that that you didn't understand? It was interesting that she was very stream of conscious, which I am, you know. And my favorite aunt was one who was very short sentences, say as little as possible, but put everything into that. And my mom was kind of in the middle. So between those three women, I learned how to be who I am now. As a teacher, I will do that too. Whenever I'm teaching, I'll complete my thought and then I'll be like, does that make sense to
Yeah.
everyone? You probably heard me say that a lot.
I say it a lot now without
Yeah.
the trauma I used to have around that fucking statement.
Right.
He was explaining some heady shit to me and one of my other best friends when he was teaching us about development and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
He would ask me if it made sense, and I would. This was like 2018, 19. When it would piss me off. Like he asked it so much because he wanted to make sure that we got it. Deep down, I ain't stupid. You don't have to spoon feed me.
Right.
It's like, yes, makes
Yeah.
fucking sense. I got it, motherfucker.
Until there's a time where it doesn't make sense, you're like, actually, no, it
Hey,
doesn't.
can you explain that
Yeah,
again?
exactly.
Now, because I wasn't the curiosity, I had pushed that shit down so far based on what I just said.
Yeah.
I ain't stupid. You ain't got to spoon feed me. So my curiosity was like, I got this shit.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
get it. I don't need
But
to
I
ask
didn't.
what that person meant, what their context is. I know what
Mhm.
that shit means. I know exactly what that statement means when they mean something completely else. They grew up in a different culture than you, dog.
Exactly. I realized that when it's when you're speaking, it is the responsibility of the speaker to make sure that they're using language the
You understand.
and so that's why I will say what I need to say
Yep.
my own language and then ask, does that make sense? Because they may not understand the meaning of a word or they may not line up for them. I may have skipped a step in logic that they're lost behind. I think it's important for that to happen. It's not an assumption that anyone is.
What have they been exposed to? What are their life experiences? Where are they thinking from? When I started really learning about marketing and speak how the person, there's basically a thing where you need to speak to the people you want to communicate to
Exactly.
and what's going on in their mind. Okay.
Exactly.
Because you, I could be, yeah, I've been through a lot of shit. I've learned a lot of shit. I got a lot of tools. I can help you a lot.
Right.
But if I'm talking from over here and how the fuck can I build a bridge? It used to piss me off like a few years ago. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk. Oh, that's inauthentic. No, it's not. No, it's fucking not. Nigga, that was you fucking 3 years ago, 4 years ago. That's
Right.
literally how you talk.
Yeah.
And
But it's really funny because I've had those moments where it's like, I have to I have to reword this or because for me, I don't like redundancy. frustrated when I have to repeat myself.
When it comes to marketing, that's a whole different kind of permission to be a badass marketer type. Because
My marketing, it's like I said it once 6 years ago. Don't you remember that? Weren't you paying attention?
the
Well,
best,
no,
I
those
will be
people
on
weren't
this,
there.
but some of the best marketers I know, and
Yeah,
I can take this, and I mean, this is all on the right path of what we're talking about. So when I was building my first fitness coaching company, I talked about, I mean, I showed people my family and shit, but when it came to what I was doing, I
right.
talked about the same fucking shit in and out every fucking day. All I talked about was tracking fucking macros. And at the time, it was a new thing, like to most of the fitness industry. I started telling myself a story in my head. I'm tired of talking about this. I
Mm-hmm.
and everybody knows about this already. That was another part of the story.
Yeah.
I got bored with it. Then that crept in. For me, that shit, I can tell the truth about this now. And I've done this in marketing. Like that was self-sabotage. And it was easy as shit. It shouldn't be this easy.
And it's interesting because as you move up a level, you take some things for granted. And there are times that you just want to be with somebody that's on the same level so that you can just relax and have a casual conversation where you aren't training somebody. And
Well,
that's a thing that a lot of people get that's how burnout happens.
you know,
And
yeah.
when people are in the space of saying, well, I've been doing this for such and such, I didn't ask for a resume. I'm asking, how are you feeling right now? I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking, what's alive right now? And when people start, like, I tune out when people start telling me their resume when I ask them a question about the present moment.
Clients, or are you talking about just people?
In general, in
Yeah.
general,
Well,
when
yeah. With
it's like,
clients, it's
I
really with clients, you reel them back into the,
yeah,
and
well, and it's like, and it's in general, and even with clients, I'm like, we aren't there right now. I asked this question. But with people in conversation, especially like socially, when I ask one thing and they have to start back from when first the earth cooled and then the dinosaurs came, but they got too big and fat. And then
my wife be like, get to the point.
exactly. And I was like,
It's
this,
like, you have to tell me all that.
yeah. It's like, and you
No.
don't have to go there. I asked a specific question.
Yeah.
You can answer the question that is asked, and you've heard me say this. Answer the question that is asked. If I have a follow-up question, I will ask it.
Yep.
And I do realize that sometimes because my brain jumps around and there's chaos in here, and I do understand that sometimes your brain is not focused. And so I can have grace for that.
Yeah.
And still say, okay, this is what we're looking for. We're just trying to funnel to this information.
So, do you find it difficult to let go?
There's some times where it's like, this shit's got to go. And then there are other times where it's like, well, what if I do need it? Or it's like, I'll never get this again. And so then I'll hold on to it a little bit longer. And with people, I will say it's a not right now. And it's like I'll push the door too, but I don't completely close it. So it's like if you ever come knocking, I can let you back in. But we're gonna have to renegotiate the relationship when you do come back. For me, that is not an easy chop all the time. Now, when I'm done, I am really done. And there is almost no going back. It takes a while for me to even soften a little bit when I'm truly done. But it takes a long time for me to get there. So I'm not, and that's kind of one of the reasons why when I am working with, like, say, for instance, the purge I did in my closet,
Mm.
there is a step where it's in a bag ready to go in case I need it. And then if I haven't needed it, it goes out the door.
Yeah.
And so I do that with pretty much everything, except for food, because food just spoils and I need to get it out.
You eat that shit or get out.
Yeah, it's like either I eat it or a
That ain't
couple.
sticking around for 6 months unless it's a super gangster butternut squash.
I've had onions and potatoes that have been stored well that have lasted for months on end.
Them potatoes didn't start sprouting.
No, it depends on the temperature, I think.
Huh.
Dry, keeping them dry and keeping them in a semi-cool space,
Okay.
or if you have potatoes and onions in the same space. Because I've noticed that if I have them near each other, they will both start sprouting. It's a weird thing, but that has happened. All right. Again, that's in the past.
Yeah.
So, as we move forward, and we're going to actually move this episode into the past, but you will be able to revisit it whenever you want. As we wrap it up, I want to give you permission to look at the past from time to time while staying here with us in the present. So thank you for joining us in the portal today. Please like and follow for more. Check out our links in the description. Share this with a friend, maybe two, maybe a few. And if you have questions or topics for us that you'd like to hear us talk about, send them to thepermissionportal@gmail.com. And remember,
The portal is always open.